Hi everybody, Cindy the Scrapologist. Thanks so much for coming back to my channel. I have a quick little tutorial for you today. I'm making something and I thought, oh, I should just do a video. People might be interested in making this for themselves. So what I started doing is I was having fun. If you watched my layering tutorial, you saw that I was making some Rolodex cards for my journals. I cut a bunch of these Rolodex cards using my Silhouette Cameo, but I did, describe how you can make these yourself. So, but this project also will work with tags, journal cards, anything that's a little smaller in size, like a journal card size. Well, it'll work with any size, but if you want to tuck it into a journal, you want to make it a little smaller than your journal, obviously. So these I just covered with book paper, vintage book paper, and I have a bunch more. And what I started to do is I thought, well, I want to make a little booklet with these. So this is what I started. I haven't finished decorating this one, but it flips open like this. And I wanted to show you how I made this because it's a little different. I'm using fabric hinges. So, yeah. So what I've done is I just have a bunch of these. Now for this particular project, you actually don't need the bottom holes. You end up covering them up anyway, so if you're hand making your own Rolodex cards, don't worry about this step. Or you can also, like I said, you could take a bunch of tags, and make a tag book too that flips open. Here's how I make the hinges. I use strips of fabric, and all this is some cotton bed sheet material. Super, super inexpensive at Walmart or anywhere. Doesn't cost all that much. And all I do is measure out about how wide I want it. And for those of you who like measurements, it's about an inch to 3/4 of an inch wide. And then I just tear it because I like that torn effect. So, oh, this one didn't tear evenly. That's unusual. Usually it tears right evenly. Let me try another one. Just do a little snip there and give it a tear. Oh my goodness, now that it's on camera, it's just not working. Usually I just sit here and rip, rip, rip. But of course, Murphy's Law. Oh my goodness. I didn't eat my Wheaties this morning. What is going on? That's really bizarre. There we go. Wow. Okay, so we have a strip. Now I'm exhausted. I'm going to have to put this on pause and take a break. Kidding. But don't you love that look? So actually, you can use these as hinges for anything in your journals if you want to do tip-ins. I like this instead of washi tape. I'm not a big fan of washi tape. I love the look of it, but washi tape is not real adhesive, and after a while it just falls off your page. It's not a real long lasting adhesive. If you want to put a piece of washi tape on, for example, and put it in your book like this, it's not really going to last as long as something like this will. So I cut a bunch of these, tore a bunch of these from my bed sheet material, even used some old bed sheets from the thrift store that have patterns on them. That would be really pretty too. Then I just cut them down to about the width that I want. I'll do just a couple of these. I'll do 3 because I think I'm going to show you 3. Okay. Then all you do is take 2 of these, and I'm messy with my glue, so I'm going to put this here, my little wax paper. And, oh, let me get these in order. Let's see. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then this. Okay. So these are the first 2 I want. It's going to go like this, so you want to take it and flip it like this. Okay, and one thing I noticed, my goodness, I have string everywhere. One thing I noticed is don't put them too close together, because then you have too much glue in here where your hinge should be, and it gets really stiff for closing it. So you want about that much of a gap, you know, a little less than 1/8 of an inch. And I'm just using Fabri-Tac. And I like to put the Fabri-Tac on the Rolodex card, not on the strip, because then you get too much glue again and it's not going to fold nice and easily. It's going to be too stiff. It may be too stiff anyway, like mine. Mine is a little stiff still. It goes fine till there, but then it's a little stiff. But it just takes some working. Just keep on working it out until the glue kind of gets less stiff, and it'll be fine. More string. Get out of here, string. My goodness. Then I just put a little bit of my Fabri-Tac on the bottom. Oh, that's not one that I cut for this. There we go. Wrong size. And then just adhere it. Simple, simple, simple. And it's such a beautiful effect. Okay, so isn't that easy? Now normally I would let this dry, but just for the purposes of this tutorial I'm going to keep going. So then you just flip this closed, kind of make sure it's even, maybe press down a little bit, and then do your next one. And you just keep layering like this until you have the size of the booklet that you want. Okay, that's awesome. And then you would just do another one and just keep going. So let's say that you're done with all of your layers. This is a good opportunity while your glue's still wet to make sure that they're all kind of even. Okay, so once I'm done with all my layers, what I like to do is then put a finishing piece of fabric on the bottom. So all I did was take my, unless you like the look, you know, this is fine too, but I just like to finish it off. So I take my whole stack, you know, like this, and then I just take one more piece of fabric. I put glue on here, take one more piece of fabric, and just kind of finish it off like that. And you can fold it over and glue it or not, or you can kind of have this sticking up. So that's how easy that is. Doesn't take any amount of time whatsoever. And then here's how I decorated the first few pages. So on this one I have a little tiny mini booklet on the front and some embossed paper. Oh, the one thing I like to do too, which you don't have to do obviously, but just some ideas for you. Let me see one that shows best. I like to take my paint. Lately I've been using this warm buff. This is like 99 cents at Walmart. This just regular acrylic paint. And I put a little bit in here. I take my finger and then I like to just paint the background. That way, if you're just using regular craft paper or something like that, You don't have to feel like you have to cover the entire card. It looks really, it gives you that mixed media look. So usually when I'm done with my binding here, I'll go through and finger paint the edges and in particular the tabs up here. I'll do that. So I did that in the background here. I don't know if you can see it. You can kind of see some of it there. And sometimes I use this antique white too. And I've shown this little trick before, how when I have a scrap, I just sew lines on it and then I cut them out and use them in my projects. So there's one of those. This is a piece of embossed paper that I finger painted. I just took paint and went like this on the embossed parts and some stamps, and I usually do take my Tim Holtz vintage photo and do the edges. I do that on everything. Did that on all this. It just really makes everything look more finished. And then here I just did a vintage book page and put some paint on it. Here, the lighting is terrible today. Still haven't worked out my lighting situation, guys. I'm still working on it. As you know, I got ripped off. I sent money to somebody who never sent me the lights, so I'm still working that out. On here, I painted I actually have a piece of vintage wallpaper back here that you can't really see. I ended up covering it up a little too much, but I'm okay with that. And a piece of a vintage book page. I finger painted some of the edges of the wallpaper and the journal card. I stamped. I have a little stamp set from Prima that looks like typewriter letters. That one's smeared a little bit, but I don't care. Then I sewed on, well, I sewed a piece of canvas and then glued it on and made a little pocket out of it. So I have a couple of little, oops, this one glued in there. There we go. I have a couple little elements that go in there. And then I just tore out, I have a kit coming out with some, oops, vintage botanicals from the 1600s. And these are the smaller little elements, and so I cut one of those out and put it on here. I've been working on that kit for at least a month. It's a lot of work in Photoshop, and I am a person that I just hate being at my computer. I really, really do. It does something to my brain. I don't feel well when I sit there at my computer for too long, so it takes me forever to make a digital kit. That's why I'm not a graphics designer. Oh, anyway, and then on the last one that I did, this is my favorite one. I again painted the background and I just covered it with a piece of vintage fabric that I have laying around and a book page that I put some of that antique white paint on. It looks really mixed media. I dried some flowers in my book press from the backyard and then put on a sentiment. This is a kit available in my shop. It's just 2 pages of sentiments typed on my 1930s typewriter. And so I put that on there. So that's as far as I got with that, but I'm loving it so far. And I like the way on this page I had the fabric. It's really a kind of lacy vintage fabric. And I left that kind of hanging out. And so I love the way some things are starting, threads and things are starting to stick out. I'm really liking these. And it's just going to look really cool as an insert in a journal. You can put it in a pocket. You can use it as a little gift just by itself. Just to show you some of the other ones I did in my layering class, I was teaching layering and collage. So this one I painted on it and then I did some stamping. Another piece of that fabric. I have a ton of this in my shop. I mean in my studio. Couple of buttons and a little embossed card, and this one is similar, just laid out differently, and I cut this sentiment out of a book. And then these I've started to just glue down book pages on. And I'm going to start decorating these, and I have some more. I'm just going to go crazy today doing this. It's lots of fun. I hope that you try it. If you have any questions, let me know below. And also let me know if there's something else you'd like to see. Every once in a while I run out of ideas. I'm like, So, but every once in a while I come up with something cool like this. I love this. So I hope you do too. And make sure you hit subscribe down below and the little bell so that you don't miss whenever I come out with a new tutorial. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Bye.